So we have some good things to talk about today, so I want to get in. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I pray that it will be beneficial to each and every one of us. Now, we have been in our series, Practical Spirituality, looking at the 7 guiding principles of Celebration Spiritual Center, going principle by principle. We started, the first principle is God is. The second principle, we are one with God. The third principle, love is the more excellent way. Number 4, all scripture, both ancient and modern, has the power to awaken any seeker of truth. Last week, we had our online service. Hello, everybody, for connecting in with us. And that was number 5. There is a great vision and purpose for every life. And that message, purpose, not perfect. And we talked about this idea that what our purpose really is, there's only one purpose that we all hold, one divine purpose, and that is to express more love and more life. Now, what that looks like it's going to be very unique for each and every one of us, but we find ourselves, we get into this paralyzed place of either wondering what our purpose is. So first, we know what it is. And then I talked in the message about how we then actually find what that outpicturing is of our purpose. And I said that purpose can only be revealed. We find that through prayer and meditation, through connection. God, source, reveals that to us. And there's more that we talked about. I invite you to go and talk about them. Check it out. Now, as we understand what our purpose is now, this takes us beautifully into the next principle. And as I was thinking about the next principle, if we're honest with ourselves, many of us, we came to this path, this thing that we call new thought or the spiritual path. We came to it because we wanted to have a good life. Yes, yes? Right? Somebody told you that there's some principles. If you do these things, right, life will be really good. And it's interesting because as we think about this country, enshrined in our founding documents is the belief that we have a fundamental God-given right to pursue happiness. And so it's no coincidence then that the New Thought philosophy was birthed in the United States of America. Now, New Thought is influenced by so many other teachings and has influences of Eastern thought and it's interfaith, and yet at the same time, it's uniquely American because we have this founding document that we believe as a people, and our consciousness says that we have the right, the God-given right, to pursue happiness. And so this is what we're doing as we come to these teachings. We wanted to be happy. In one way or another, something didn't feel good, something wasn't working right, we weren't happy, and we're trying to pursue happiness, and we're being told that by following these teachings, by learning these principles and laws, that we can achieve happiness in our life. And so in each generation, this idea that we can be, do, or have whatever we want, it takes hold of the consciousness of the public. And so we can look back and we can see how a text like Think and Grow Rich has continued to speak even now, but particularly at the time that it entered the consciousness of the United States and has gone on. We recognize that happened in our more recent history. The Secret is the thing that has gotten so many people to these teachings. It woke people up to the possibility of manifesting houses and cars and attracting your soulmate and spontaneous healing of incurable diseases, of becoming wealthy. All of these things and more, we're told, are possible for every living soul. And so when we hear that, then what we're hearing then is that there is a realm, there's a place that we can tap into. There's a place that we can activate that is ever expanding good. And the question is, as many of people are seeking this, they want to know, how do you do that? Give me the steps. What classes do I need to take? What are the principles I need to learn? How do I need to apply it? How many forgiveness sheets do I need to work on so I can tap into this realm of ever expanding good? And so as I heard that question, how do I tap into this realm of ever-expanding good? How do I tap into it? What I heard simply in my mind is, Pastor Greg, how do I flip the switch? Because I realize I'm in this place in my life, it's turned off. Tell me where the switch is and how do I turn it on? Because I want to get into this place. Now, one quick tip, and it's related to everything we're going to talk about later. How do you flip the switch? A quick tip is gratitude. You want to just get into the realm of ever-expanding good? Practice gratitude. Now, here's the thing. Oh, all I got to do is say thank you? Or all I got to do is just, write down 3 things I'm grateful for in the morning? Yeah, but that also means that, shout out if anybody's still using your bracelet, complaint-free challenge. That means that now you got to be aware of all the times that you aren't practicing gratitude by complaining and fussing, because then that energy is actually canceling them 3 little gratitudes you did in the morning. So we understand that this is a quick tip, but if you really choose to practice this and make this your religion, right, it's going to take you on a journey, right? That's going to be a whole life practice. But it's a quick tip. It's a quick tip. So I was reminded of a quote by a French author, Anaïs Nin. And she says something profound. She says that life shrinks or expands according to one's courage. And that's absolutely true, right? Absolutely true. Because if you walk forward in life fearlessly, life opens all the doors to you. But if you walk through life scared and timid, life just is equally scared and timid in bringing the good to you. And so as I thought about that, I wanted to expand it as it relates to the principle that we're going to deal with today. And so instead of talking about courage, I changed it to this. Life shrinks or expands according to our service. Now, the sixth principle of CSC is we are here to serve. And it says this: we are here to change our world and leave it better than we found it. We believe that service must be at the heart of every life's purpose. We take joy in knowing that the specific way in which service is given will look different through each individual expression of life. This adds to the warm tapestry of uniqueness that is inherent in all life. So you want to know how you flip the switch? You want to know how you tap into that realm of everlasting good, ever expanding good? Through service. And so we're going to talk about service, and we're going to talk about what it is and what it is not. But as I thought about service, it actually took me to a story that we read about Jesus, where Jesus shares what the greatest commandment is. And we find this in two areas of the Second Testament, or the New Testament, in Matthew and in Mark. And they're almost similar. The thing about these stories in the Bible, each gospel was designed and written to speak to different communities. And so we can't read it as literal or historical fact because the stories are different. For instance, in Matthew, we have a lawyer that comes to Jesus and asks the question, "Teacher, what is the greatest commandment?" And then Jesus responds with what we've heard and know: you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And a second is like it: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Now, in Mark, it's almost the same, right? We've got a couple of things that are the same, and this is how you know, like in terms of historical fact, we can't confirm either or. Because in Mark, the scene is similar. There's a lawyer. We got the lawyer. The lawyer asks the same question, but then Jesus asks him a question and says, what does your scripture say? Tell me, what does it say? And then the lawyer responds, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and your mind and your soul. This is the greatest and first commandment. And the second is like it: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Interesting. This also tells us then something that Jesus wasn't teaching nothing new. Right? This wasn't like some commandment that Jesus came up with. He was saying, what's in the teachings? You know the teachings? Tell me, right? But what's important is the principle. And so he says, love God, love your neighbor, love yourself. Love God, love yourself, love your neighbor. Now, why do I switch that around? Because it's interesting. It says, and the second is like it: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. But if you don't love yourself first, there's no way you're going to be able to love your neighbor. Yes, yes? So it's love God, love yourself, love your neighbor. And so taking that same formula and taking that same principle, we're going to talk about service in the same way. But I'm putting it this way: serve God, serve you, serve your neighbor. Can we say that together? Serve God, serve you, serve your neighbor. So what does this look like, and how do we do this? Now, first and foremost, I got to say this, because when we hear this word service, we generally are thinking about something that it's not. Now, we did a message many years ago. I invite you to go on to YouTube and listen to it. Sacrifice is a 4-letter word. Service is not sacrifice. And so many times when we hear this idea, oh, Pastor Greg, in order to tap into this realm of ever-expanding good, I got to serve. But your only experience or expectation of service is really sacrifice. And sacrifice leads to resentment. And sacrifice leaves you with you holding the bag. And sacrifice leaves you with not feeling good at all, right? We're not talking about sacrifice. That's not what it is. We teach here that sacrifice is a 4-letter word, right? God is not calling for us to sacrifice. So when we talk about service, serving God, what are we talking about? Now, first, without understanding the first and second principle that God is and we are one with God, this could be a triggering or problematic statement for some people, because we recognize, and as I was raised, we serve the Lord. That means you trudge out to church when you want to and when you don't to. That's serving God. That means you give even when it's your last, because you're serving God, right? Sacrifice. But that's what we were taught, that's what serving God means, right? In season and out of season, you show up, right? But what I'm talking about here, when we talk about serving God, we serve God through communion. We serve God through connecting and the connection with this field of unconditional love, absolute love, bliss, joy, this field of unbounded awareness, as Pastor Yolanda just said. By making that connection through prayer and meditation, that's how we serve God. So that means that this is internal. It's an internal act or action. Connect with God first. That's how you serve God, because you come into this awareness of the recognition that you're more than your five sense awareness. You come into this awareness that you're more than your body. Your body is the vehicle that serves you. Very important when we understand this. But if we're not serving God in this way, through connection, through communion, then we're actually not doing true service. And so what happens then, all of the external stuff that we're taught to do, it's not serving God. Ain't nothing wrong with sage, ain't nothing wrong with candles. But that's not service. That's not service to the God in you. Now again, we're not talking about something outside of us. God is the all in all. Please go back to week 1. God is spirit, right? God is substance. It's that thing that becomes everything, right? God is not powerful. God is all power. God is omnipresence, right? Emily Katie, please go back to the first message, what we're talking about. When we're talking about serving the all that is, right? This is what we're talking about. And so as we understand that, excuse me one second. And so as we understand that, then we recognize that anything that we're doing externally or we're taught to do, that's not serving God, right? It doesn't going somewhere. I mean, we come here to church not to serve God. That's not why we come here. This is not our service to God. We come here because community and collective consciousness is important. We also come here to reinforce what we know to be true and to be around like-minded individuals and then celebrate this truth that we know and expound upon. Why? Because the thing that we celebrate expands. Yes, yes? So we serve God, and then second, serve you. And this might be actually my favorite part of this message, because when I began to think about this idea of serving you, it took me to something that... It's so interesting when I look at our society and the current ways of being, because y'all ever heard of this thing called extreme self-care or radical self-care? Right? There are books being written about this, how to practice extreme self-care. There are blog posts that for the new year, how to practice radical self-care in the new year. And it's interesting that we have to put these qualifiers upon self-care. Extreme, going to great or exaggerated lengths, as in went on an extreme diet. Radical, very different from the usual or traditional. And I recognize that there's no reason for self-care to be radical or extreme except the fact that we don't take care of ourselves. Therefore, it feels radical and extreme. We have created a need for extreme self-care because we have been serving so many things other than ourselves. We've been serving the latest fashion trends. We've been serving the latest fad diet. We've been serving the news. We've been serving what this magazine says we should be doing. We've been serving what this so-called authority says is the standard of beauty. We've been serving what this blog post says moms should be able to do and have it all and all of that foolishness. We've been serving what this book says a perfect family or a perfect marriage or a perfect relationship looks like. We've been serving what this person thinks you should have accomplished by a certain age. Serving everybody but you. And so when we recognize that we are here to serve, we serve God, connecting to the all that is, connecting to this part that is beyond us, that is bigger than us, and yet it still is us. And out of that awareness, out of that connection, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul. Now you can serve yourself. Now you can love yourself. And the truth is, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, when we're serving anything other than ourselves, it's mental slavery. Now, as I thought about this, it took me to another passage that I love from my elder brother Jesus. And it's a passage that is often misused and misunderstood because we find in the Gospels of Matthew and Luke, Jesus talks about we can't serve two masters. And the last line is the pivotal line that messes folk up. You cannot serve God and wealth. Now, this has been used to have us thinking that wealth is bad, that wealth is wrong. It's an anti-wealth statement. It also has us thinking even that to be a millionaire or a billionaire is wrong. There's a lot of conversation going on about that right now in politics and in the news, and some quotes are I think, being misunderstood. But hear this. You cannot serve God and wealth. That's an absolute truth. But this is not a this is not a statement against wealth. Why? Because wealth exists to be put in service to life. You see, wealth is an outpicturing of abundance. Abundance is. Abundance is, and then prosperity and wealth is the outpicturing of abundance, right? And it shows up in different ways. Now, we know abundance is, can we count the number of stars? That's abundance. Can we count the grains of sand? That's abundance. We can't even count the number of hairs on our head. Well, I can't. And so we recognize, again, if we understand the principle that actually if we look all around, if you ever look and see how vast and amazing our Milky Way galaxy is, how many stars are in the galaxy, how many planets are in the galaxy, and then we understand that this one expansive galaxy is one of trillions of known galaxies, and we keep discovering more. Abundance just is. And so what's happening is when we have billionaires or millionaires or any expression of wealth or what we would call wealth, we're simply seeing the outpicturing of what is. Now, the issue is how we think about wealth and how we use it determines whether it then turns into good or bad. And so what has happened then, we've taken scriptures like this. Well, Jesus said you can't serve God and wealth, right? Or some people think, misquote, money is the root of all evil. Then the scripture says the love of money is the root of all evil. It's the same thing. If you serve money, you're going to find yourself in a whole world of trouble. If you're serving wealth, because you're not serving you, which is truly the God in you, this connection, you're going to find yourself in a whole lot of trouble. And so what we're seeing is we see a lot of wealthy people, not all, but we see some, I should say, wealthy folks that are really just serving money, that are really serving some paper or an idea. Well, let's back up. Money is just an idea. It's just an idea. It's whatever we collectively agree it is, and so it becomes, which means that idea can change and is changeable and has changed all the time throughout human history. Why would we serve something? Why would we put our trust in? Why would we put our confidence in something that actually isn't fixed? We want to put our trust in, as the good hymn says, build your hopes on things eternal. Hold to God's unchanging hand. And so we recognize that in the same way as our elder brother Jesus is inviting us to understand this idea that we can't serve God and wealth, you can't serve yourself and serve wealth. Because what's going to happen? You're going to end up doing some things that go against yourself, trying to make that money, trying to get that dollar. You're not serving yourself, you're serving the paper. Oh my goodness, I hope I'm speaking to someone today. Serve God. Serve you. And then we have serve your neighbor. Now, when we think about serving our neighbor, the truth is, and we come to understand this, if you've connected with the all that is and understand that really all of us are connected and connected to and live in this thing that we call God, and we are individualized expressions of this one expression that is God, that is why you're able to serve yourself. But then you understand that you, God, and your neighbor are one in truth. So we serve our neighbor like we serve ourselves. Serve your neighbor like you serve you. Because there is no other. We do not serve, we serve, we do not help. I love thinking about this, right? We don't look down on anyone, because if you're looking down on someone, you're looking down on yourself. We're not helping the less fortunate. Because again, if we're one in truth, then when you say that, when you look down on someone, you're looking down on yourself. And so in truth, and this is affirmative thought and affirmative perspective, the people that we serve are not poor. The people that we serve are not disadvantaged. Now, there may be an experience of poverty. There may be an experience of feeling or being disadvantaged, but that's not who and what they are. Why do we know that? Because we serve God and we serve ourselves, and we understand our oneness. And the oneness that I possess is the same oneness that you possess, and is the same oneness that you possess, and is the same oneness that my sister possesses, and the same oneness that my brother possesses. And so when I come into a place and space where I am there to serve, I am serving myself. I serve my neighbor as I serve myself. So we don't call them poor. We don't call anyone poor. That's not who they are. That's an experience. We don't call them disadvantaged. That's an experience. And I thought about this in my mind's eye as I was thinking. I was imagining, because the way we treat people based on how we name them is interesting. And I was wondering, if we could do this experiment. Maybe one day I'll do it. But imagine there was a man in a room, and he's wearing a suit, okay? And you bring in a group of people, and the first group of people you bring in, you tell them this about the man. He's in a suit. And you say, this man is a successful entrepreneur. He made a deal on Shark Tank 3 years ago, and now he's a multimillionaire. His story is incredibly inspirational, and he wants to share it with everyone. What posture do you think those people would hold as they go to talk to him? They would immediately treat him in a certain way. They would treat him with a certain level of respect. They would treat him with a certain level of deference. They would be like, hey, well, I got this idea. They might try to, tell them about their idea. They might ask him questions about how they can succeed in what they were doing. Immediately, he would be given an incredible amount of success, or respect, rather, based on this story of success. Now, say you have the same man, you bring in another group, but you tell them a different story. And you say, this man that's sitting here in this room, he's on his way to a job interview. He has this suit on. You see he's well-dressed because he was a part of a program, a Dress for Success program, and we helped him and we got him this suit. He's been unemployed for 3 years. His wife had cancer and passed away, and the medical bills have been too much for him. So he lost his house, and he's been living in and out of homeless shelters, and we wanted you to meet him. What posture do you think the people would hold as they went to speak to this brother? There would be a helping posture, right? They would look down on him. They wouldn't be looking at the God in him. They wouldn't see him as the I am that I am. They wouldn't be knowing the truth of him, that he is prosperous regardless of his outer experience or circumstances. And so I recognize that this is what we must be cognizant of as we think about serving our neighbor. Recognizing that every person we encounter, every being we encounter is God. Serve God, serve you, serve your neighbor. So when we ask the question, how do we flip the switch? And how do we activate this realm of ever-expanding good? Now, I said you can use gratitude, and gratitude works. But understanding this process now, understanding what service is and that we are here to serve, and that as we bring our life of service, that life expands or contracts according to how we serve. How in the world do we think life is going to expand for us when we can't even love ourselves? Like, it doesn't even work. We treat ourselves like we're just, dirt on the street, but we want the universe to treat us like we're kings and queens. Life shrinks or expands according to our service. How in the world can we expect for life to expand for us if we don't understand that we have an eternal connection to the all that is and we're one with it? Because if we don't understand that, then that's what leads us to looking to everything out here, making it our God. So then life is only going to respond from that place. That God is the God that's going to respond to you. So first we serve God. We must connect with the transcendent reality that undergirds all life. Because this 5 sense world out here, it's not going to tell you who you are. It's not going to reinforce who you are. It's not. If you were looking for life to tell you that you are prosperous, that you are amazing, that you are perfect, whole, and complete, it's not going to do that. When I say life, I'm talking about the external world. If you're looking to find that on the TV, it ain't going to work. And here's the other reality. Sometimes your mother might not tell you. Your family members might not. Your loved ones might not be the ones that tell you. Again, it's still external. Yeah, we would love for our elders and our loved ones and those who are our caregivers to be the ones to speak those words, but they may not be the one. So we got to know it for ourselves, and we come to know that through this intimate connection. And it's something, this is why Pastor Yolanda always says that God is a felt experience. It's not an intellectual exercise. You can only know that by going within. And then next, we serve ourselves, serve you. And by serving you, you're listening to your inner compass, your inner guidance. You're serving nothing outside of you. And by doing this, you no longer have to practice extreme self-care. You no longer have to practice radical self-care. You just care for self. Right? Because it's natural and normal, right? It's natural and normal to care for yourself. It's natural and normal to not sacrifice, to make no agreements with struggle. And then finally, we serve our neighbor. Serve your neighbor like you serve you. Give your best to yourself and give your very best to your neighbor. So as we understand this now, as we understand our purpose, and we understand that a purpose can only be given, it can only be served, that's the only way it can be experienced, I invite everybody to stand. Serve God, serve you, serve your neighbor. Now here's the thing. This is coming to me right now. Many of us need to spend a lot more time in number 1 and number 2. Because see, number 3, the serving our neighbor has become so noble and you know, people get accolades for their service and doing all of these things. And unfortunately, and this is real, we see many people that have been giving and giving and giving, and then some take their lives, giving and giving and giving, or they get to a place of resentment, and they just like, forget all of this. And I recognize it's because the foundation of serving God and serving you, again, not the egoistic you, not the human you, but serving that which will enliven you, serving that which will then fill your cup up so that then you can serve your neighbor from your overflow. Did you know that that's where you're supposed to serve your neighbor from the overflow? The neighbor ain't supposed to get all that good, the other good stuff. That's you. That's for you. But when you serve you, when you connect with God, first of all, and I love this. Oh my God, I love this. When we think about, I love how Maharishi Mahesh Yogi talks about it in Transcendental Meditation. He says, water the root, enjoy the fruit. Now we understand that, right? By watering the root, by serving you, all of a sudden fruit is produced. Fruit is produced over and over again, right? But you don't give the good that is for you to anyone else. So as you're serving you, that's what you're doing. You're watering the root. And then you can freely give. And what's beautiful about the fruit, it replenishes itself over and over again, right? So you're not worried. Imagine if you were an apple tree. You wouldn't be worried. You got all these apples with multiple seeds inside of each apple. Take it. Take as many as you want. I got more coming. You know that from that perspective if you were an apple tree. Well, guess what? If it is true for the apple tree, it is absolutely true for you. But only from this awareness, only from this consciousness. So take some time. Serve God. Serve you. Live in that till your cup is full. Then it's just inevitable. The serving your neighbor is inevitable. Just as the fruit that's produced by the tree is just inevitable. It can't help but give fruit. And it can't help for then that fruit to turn into all sorts of things like apple pies. Right? It just becomes more and becomes more and becomes more. Spend time serving God and serving you. And serving your neighbor is just a natural outpicturing of that. With that, I invite everybody to take a breath. And we exhale. There is one mind, one power, one presence, working in all, through all, and as all. That thing I choose to call Mother, Father, God, and you are here now. For you are ever present in every moment, Mother, Father, God. You are constantly encountered. I encounter you when I encounter my brother and sister. I encounter you when I encounter the sun. I encounter you when I encounter the blue of the sky. I encounter you when I encounter the stars at night. I encounter you when I encounter the moon. I encounter you when I encounter the wind. I encounter you when I feel my heartbeat. I encounter you at every moment and every level of existence, for you are everything and everything is you. And as I recognize this truth, I recognize that I am one with you. I recognize that each and every one of my brothers and sisters that are here in this space and within the sound of my voice, you are one with the all that is. For it is in God that you live, you move, and you have your being. And God lives, moves, and has its being in, through, and as you. We are the activity of God. We are the servants of God. God can only do anything on this planet through us. So right here and right now, we make ourselves available. We speak the words of the song, if you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. Take my hands and my feet, touch my heart, Lord, speak through me. We allow ourselves to be used because we recognize that there is a great possibility and responsibility to leave this planet differently than when we came here. We incarnated into this planet at this time, in this moment, to bring our light, to bring our consciousness, to bring our gifts, to bring our skills, to bring our talents and abilities, and use them to transform the planet, to transform consciousness, to transform life as we know it. So right here and now we say yes. We say yes to that thing which is seeking to emerge. We say yes. We say yes to that vision that is knocking on the door of our heart. We say yes. We say yes to that new way of living out our purpose that is showing up in our lives right now. We say yes. We say yes to the first step. We say yes. We say yes to the small inkling that we're being shown. We say yes. We say yes to service. We say yes to serving God. We say yes to serving ourselves. And we say yes to serving our neighbor as ourselves. Oh, my mother, Father God, it is so good to know who and what we are, and to know that just as the tree gives of its fruit easily and effortlessly, so we have the capacity and capability to give of our fruit after we have been nurtured, after we have been planted, after we have been taken care of. The fruit is inevitable. So it is with joy and thanksgiving that I release this prayer, knowing that each and every one of us will live out our purpose and live out our service easily and effortlessly because of this connection. With joy and thanksgiving, I release this prayer back into the law, which is always in operation. And together we say, amen, ashe. And so it is. So it is. Thank you, God.